Welcome, Lund loyalists, YouTubers watching on John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple and Spotify. It's John Lund Unleashed and 𝐬𝐮𝐻𝐿 brought to you by 𝐟𝐸𝐵 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Right now featuring amazing stem cell technology. For all your pain and for the guys, check out the latest in low T and testosterone therapy to make you feel like yourself again. 𝐟𝐸𝐵 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center at 𝐸𝐵𝐿cosmetic.com. Now, all juiced up and ready to go. Here's Johnny.
Yes. That's no way to start the show. Yes. Thanks for joining us. It is a Monday. What is it? March 24th? March 24th. Edition of the program. As you can see right there, a lot to discuss. There's little Andrew Wiggins. He scored 42. Little Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, which we talked about over the weekend, and I have some impressive numbers for you. In fact, I just put him behind something, and I just forgot. That's what I need these. I need this chicken scratch that I have right here. You got Steph Curry right there. Does he play or not? That is the big dilemma. You got March Madness a little bit. Kyle Harrison gets sent down. Rest in peace, George Foreman, who for a generation of fans is probably more known for a grill than he is for boxing, but he is a throwback to a certain era. So good morning. As you can see right there, we have yes, that's right. It's the chalkboard. If you're new around here, we try to stay as close as we can to the chalkboard. Walter did send me something, and I got to get it up there so I can scratch the chalkboard off, but I'll get to it. It is episode 96. Thank you so much for making the time for our show this morning. If you're watching on Instagram, in fact, let me click Instagram on. I was like, if you're watching on Instagram, you couldn't be because I didn't click the button yet. Instagram makes you do an extra thing. Everybody else is like, yeah, I got you, except for Instagram. So you got to hit a button. All right, Instagram is going at John Lund Radio on X. Thank you very much. We're on Twitch today. Of course, we're on YouTube, and we would love it if you would join us on YouTube. John Lund Unleashed. We're getting close to $5,000. I wonder if I could go back and give something to somebody who is number 5,000, but we are growing the community thanks to you, and thank you for spreading the word and all those kind of things. So it is awesome to be near 5,000 subscribers. That is great. We're on Bay Area Sports Collective as well. Please grow that number on Bay Area Sports Collective. That's where my show is. Tom Tolbert, of course, Polly Mac, and Creative Tony. All of us are on Bay Area Sports Collective, so make sure you are there as well. Make sure you subscribe and turn on your alerts for Bay Area Sports Collective, because that'll be starting. I'll be going down to games once the Giants start going, once the Warriors get into the playoffs. So we'll be posting all sorts of stuff, not just shows, but we are a sports entity after all. So we'll be going to all the games and getting you great content. So make sure that you go over to Bay Area Sports Collective, because I'm going to post that stuff exclusively on Bay Area Sports Collective. LinkedIn people, we're bothering them on a Monday as people are actually working. Facebook as well. John Lund and John Lund Unleashed. So a lot of different places you can find the show. We'll do roll call in just a second, but for episode 96, I'm going to start off with Draymond Green, and he's not really happy after the loss to the Hawks. So we'll get into that one, and we'll play that for you. Dubs update, which you love, as we are just 11 games left in the season, and they go to Miami, who's absolutely terrible right now. But I'll give you the theory on why Wiggs scored 42 the other night. A little bit of a dilemma for the Warriors in regards to Steph Curry. They did get a break. The Clippers losing, but still hot on their heels are the Timberwolves and the Clippers, so the Warriors have to keep things going. Miami Jimmy goes back what Matthew Delavadova did in a championship series in Australia. I don't think I've ever seen in my life. Saturday, we worked on a little bit of Purdy percentage. We just kind of stumbled into that kind of thing, but I'll do my David Lombardi impression, but much shorter. Kyle Harrison sent out what that means, what it does mean, and what it doesn't mean. The Daily Hicks, that's right, he shouldn't be in the rotation. A Screamin' A disclaimer and random stuff, which happens throughout the show. So thank you for coming in today. And again, please make sure you subscribe. And for all things John Lund Unleashed, all you have to do is go to johnlundunleashed.com. Very, very simple. We've got a blog there. We got the shows there. We got the YouTube shows. We got the podcast. Everything is right there, and you can check everything out. I am aware, by the way, just because with Bay Area Sports Collective, I moved my podcast over. It doesn't affect anything on Apple or Spotify or anything, but it hasn't been loading over the last few days. So if you have noticed that, I got a bunch of stuff for the weekend. I'm going, hey, you doing the podcast portion of this thing? And I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So that hadn't been loading. I'll get that fixed today. I promise. I haven't spoken in like 24 hours and my voice is going out on me. Good morning to John Holmes. Hello, Hurleybird. Hello, Jeff. Hi, Tacky, Lund, and Larry and Lund's Tap Room. By the way, I will be on with Larry tonight. I didn't put it on my chalkboard. I'll be with Larry tonight, and we will officially, I think, name the show tonight because we got to get going on that whole thing. Pine Needle is there. Skills. It is what? Your birthday? When is your birthday? Your birthday present arrives today? Please expand on that. And when is your birthday? Oh, there you go. Yesterday. Okay. Sorry. Yesterday was my 45th, but I pre-ordered. You don't look 45, dude. We did the Lund Loyalist last month, and we got to do it this month as well. In fact, I'll send that email out today. And happy birthday. You don't want me singing to you because you've heard my singing voice many times on this show, but my goodness, man, happy 45, brother. You look good. Ernesto Ron, it is great to see you this morning. What else? 𝐾𝐭 Coffee. I am on 𝐾𝐭 Coffee today, by the way. 𝐾𝐭 Coffee, very nice. I'm feeling great today on a Monday, by the way. Just amazing for a Monday. Let's see. Fiend is here today. Danny, I don't know if I'd seen Danny for a couple of days. Nice to see you. I will be visiting Phoenix very soon, by the way. Got to see the kid every once in a while. He is just, he was all weekend long. It was like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, covered baseball. And now he's assigned to the defense for spring football. Unbelievable. Anyway, no morning beer. This is not a morning beer. I'm still leaving this is a Trader Joe's sparkling water, cranberry and orange. It's not a morning beer. I'm not into tomato juice. Some people love tomato juice in their beer and they can do the morning beers. If I'm going to do a morning beer, and really the only time I do a morning beer is if I'm going to a baseball game. So for the home opener versus the Mariners, which is, always the big opener, the Mariners, for the Mariners home opener, like I'll drink beer in that morning. Like I'll hang around the ballpark and I'll let you know where I'm going to be if you're going to be at the home opener. But that kind of stuff, I'll do that. But normally, if I'm going to do a morning cocktail, it will be Bailey's. It will be a Bloody Mary. Occasionally, if I don't feel like something heavy like a Bloody Mary, just a simple screwdriver with some OJ and some vodka is a good call. What else? Irish coffee is always nice. Anything with coffee, bourbon whiskey is good. I can do that. I'm not a big morning beer person. Like I said, I had lots of friends in college when you'd tailgate for a football game or something like that. And I've told you the stories. We lived right down the hill from all the fraternity houses and right across from the football stadium when I was a junior in college. And we took and just terrible. It was terrible, but we went to a home, like a Home Depot kind of a place and built a bar, kind of a pseudo bar out of wood in front of our house. And we would just put the cheapest vodka we could find and we'd do screwdrivers and Bloody Marys. Boom, 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 boom. And to tell you how long ago it was $3 a pop. And easily we would sell at least 100 of those things. And that was about 3/4 of our rent for the month. And then we would do that. So when they had home football games, it was awesome. Highly illegal. I think that the statute of limitations is up, but very, very, very highly illegal. Absolutely. Frank is here today. Who else do we have? Christopher, it is great to see you, my friend. And everybody wish Skills a happy birthday. That is awesome, man. Yeah, you avoid stress. You look like it, dude. 45, you look good. You look really good, man. A lot better than me. My goodness, man. Rough life. All right, it is tremendous to have you. Please, everybody, welcome or give happy birthday wishes to Skills. Also, by the way, we always ask this. Hi, Jake. Good to see you. We always ask this. If you are new in the room at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, just please say hello. You don't have to say anything, not make a big deal. A lot of people don't, they just hang out. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you, my friend. Whatever. Just say hello. We'd love to make you part of the community. Pop you up on the screen. Say hello. All those kind of things. So if you'd like to say hello, that would be tremendous so that everybody can welcome you. Yeah, screwdrivers are underrated. I think that they get kind of a bad rap because it is, maybe I'm wrong in this, but this just popped in my mind. It's so weird, but like the first drink you ever had and you're a kid and you don't know if like whatever, let's just throw some orange juice and some vodka. And then it's not a bad drink, and people forget about it. It's a pretty basic drink, but in the morning, like if you're doing vodka orange juice, like my wife does, she does champagne orange juice kind of deals. And she barely just does a touch of orange juice in there. Just maybe for the color. I don't know what the case may be. But yeah, vodka orange juice always works. If you're not like a Bloody is really nice. But as we did on the pregame for the Super Bowl, a Bloody Mary is a commitment. You've got to do, if you're going to do it right. Now you could just shake up a bottle of whatever mix and throw it in there and call it a Bloody Mary, and that's fine. I'm a little snobbish when it comes to that, as you know, and so I'll put the olives and the limes and the celery stalk and all, I got to make it basically like a breakfast, and it takes a lot to do that. So if you don't want to do that kind of complication, and you're just like, look, man, I just want to have a morning cocktail. Maybe it's a game, or maybe you just have an issue, and I'm not one to judge, but just throw a little orange juice in there, a real simple drink. And I think people think, well, guy, I drank that when I first started. Like, that was one of the first drinks I ever made and drank. Like, I want to evolve above it, like, or beyond it. And I get it. I totally get it. But anyway, very nice to see you. Good to see you, Todd. So we can start on drinking. Harvey Wallbanger. Wow. I didn't think we were going to talk about a Harvey Wallbangers. Oops, where are we at? Hurleybird brings up Harvey Wallbanger. So what they do is it's a yellow liqueur. Why does it slip in my mind? It's in a super fancy bottle. And that for a period of time in college, but it's called God, why am I losing the name of it? Now I'm mad. It's a yellow liqueur, and it's in a fancy looking bottle, and I can't believe that I can't remember what it is. You guys will come up with it faster than I will. For a while in college, this was like, I loved this drink, the Harvey Wallbanger, and it's so good. It's a very good drink. Now it's driving me crazy. Wallbanger drink. We're going to get to stuff, I promise. Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting this. I made with a Galliano. That's what it's called. Vodka, Galliano, and orange juice. It's excellent. In fact, now I'm thinking about it. In fact, let me show you the fancy bottle of Galliano. Let me see if they pop it up here. There it is right there. It's a great looking bottle for your bar if you want something like that. Hang on. I know we're going to get to something, but that's kind of a fake version of it. Now I have to unplug my thing, but there's what it looks like. Galliano. Very fancy, look nice on your bar. And plug this back in because then it'll die on me, and that's what I use to get information. If we get information out, all right, let's do this. Let's get going. Galliano, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Often associated here. It is right here. Disco era of the '70s. Galliano, vanilla flavored Italian liqueur that adds its distinctive flavor to an array of cocktails. Click the link to learn more. So there you go. It's really good. It's really good in a screwdriver. So if you want to fancy up your screwdriver and fancy up your bar, people will come into your house and go, whoa, what is that? Oh, it's Galliano. It's very nice. So anyway, we've already started with the tangent part. We started at the bottom today. We started with the randoms. I can't do kamikazes, man. I got a great kamikaze story. We're starting out crazy on a Monday. Kamikazes one time, and we've all got this drink, and this is mine. Can't do kamikazes anymore. Well, I can. Only if it's fresh lime juice, and I can't drink Rose's lime juice at all, which is weird because normally if you had a really bad night on something, you associate it with liquor. Mine is with Rose's lime juice, which I can't stand because a bartender made a bunch of kamikazes with Rose's lime juice, which is not really good lime juice to me. And I drank way too many of them, prayed to the porcelain god for a number of hours and have not been able to drink kamikazes in probably 20 years, and I can't drink any Rose's lime juice. Like if we make margaritas at home or something, there's a version of a key lime juice that you can get at any liquor store that is awesome. If you're making just real simple Bloody Marys, a couple of fresh limes, just a splash of that key lime juice, which is outstanding, and you can make yourself a real basic nice margarita. Splash some Grand Marnier in there, boom, ready to go. All right, let's go. Let's go. You guys got to start me. It's Monday. We can't start with liquor. Yeah, we can do whatever we want, actually. All right. Let's get to this. Let me show you something first. Let me share my screen with you first before we hear what Draymond Green has to say about the disappointing loss to the Hawks this weekend. If you want to keep with liquor, that's totally fine. Danilo Gallinari. That's right. Very similar names. Morning mudslide. That wouldn't be bad. I would have no problem with a morning mudslide. Okay, let me share my screen with you so that we can do what we always do. You know it. It's the game that everybody loves to play, NBA bracket. And we're 11 games away from this thing finishing up. Can we just get to the playoffs, please? So as we do, the Nuggets over the weekend without Jokic, I think it was Murray, what Jamal Murray scored last night, 39 points, something like that. So the Nuggets in the 3-6, that's still ugly, and the Lakers get that other side of the bracket, which we don't love, and the Rockets are red hot and all the things that we already know. So that's what it looks like. Now, to concentrate over here on the Timberwolves and Clippers more than the 3 versus the 6. which I'm obsessed with, but it's 31 losses both for the Clippers and the Timberwolves. The Clippers lost last night, so they're at 31 losses. Warriors, of course, at 41-30. So let's show you the whole thing, Eastern Conference, whatever. Western Conference, as you see right there, the Warriors are hanging on by a thread at 41-30. Timberwolves. Now, here's the thing as far as the tiebreaker is concerned. Warriors beat the Timberwolves 3-1. So if that's a tie, obviously it goes to the Warriors. If the Clippers and the Warriors tied, that's not good because the Clippers, who, by the way, the Clippers and the Warriors played early in the season in 2024, early in the season 3 times, and then they haven't played since, and that's 3-zip Clippers. So the Clippers are going to have that season series. They're going to have the season series over the Timberwolves. So you'd still be the 6 if you tied with the Timberwolves. If you tied with the Clippers, you would lose that tiebreaker. I was looking this morning for the 3-way. Who isn't? But I couldn't. I didn't. I just was like, heck with it. I'm not going to be too late because normally, but I have far too much respect for the people. I would have went down a rabbit hole and found that third one, but I'll do that in the next couple of days. But so they have the tiebreaker over the Timberwolves. They do not have the tiebreaker over the Clippers. If it ends in a 3-way tie, I'll look that up for you, or somebody could look it up and let me know. But that's the latest. They've got the Heat tomorrow night, so they get a little bit of a break over the weekend. You got the Timberwolves late in the week losing 2, which gave them a break, and then the Clippers, of course, losing to Oklahoma City. But by the way, that's not bad. So they lose to Oklahoma City, and so if they would have won that game and it was a close game and came down to the end, they would have been tied, and they would have the 6th seed because they have the tiebreaker over the Warriors. So that is something to watch. As excited as we are, as I keep talking about with the Warriors, it's like, wait a minute, those guys are right up there, right there. So we got to be totally careful. So that's what's going on as far as that goes. I just saw Surfer on Acid. I don't know what that is. Is that a cocktail? Is that the 1-420? Is that a cocktail? I'm not sure. All right, let's get to Draymond Green. Here's Draymond after the loss against the Hawks. And I understand. Let me preface this with one quick thing because he's upset, and those are the Hawks. And obviously we know that Steph Curry doesn't play, but that's no excuse, especially at this point of the year. The Hawks stink. You've still got Jimmy Butler to lead the team. I was confident that they'd go into Atlanta and win. Atlanta's not very good. Now, look, they have Trae Young, and Dyson Daniels is a nice player. They got some players. It's not like they're devoid of talent like a few teams on this in the NBA. They're not devoid of talent at all. But you could just tell Draymond Green, it's one of those games, and I don't know why the Warriors are prone to this still, with as much leadership in Butler and Green that they have where you are at this point in the season. We talked about this when Denver came into town last week, and it just seemed like the Warriors kind of just threw their shoes on the floor and thought, well, there's no Jokic. There's no Murray. We got this. Like, we don't really even have to show up. It seemed like they had the same kind of attitude against Atlanta, like looking at Atlanta going, they're not very good. Like, we got this. It's like, wait, you're not playing with Steph Curry. And the next night, remember when Steph Curry gets hurt, then you're playing against Milwaukee, and it's like, okay, you don't have Steph. But I was a pretty good it was pretty good. My thought is like, you're looking at this going, okay, they're going to beat Milwaukee because they're going to focus in. And it was the same thing. I thought, well, okay, the Hawks, they're going to get focused. So we'll get to Curry in just a second. And something that is interesting that's going on, he's going to make the trip. He's going to be in Miami. Whether he plays or not is something else, but I want to get into that conversation in a second. But this was fascinating. A frustrated Draymond Green at the podium after the loss to Atlanta.
We got to be better. That starts with me. We were terrible defensively. Once it's the NBA, once guys get into a rhythm, it's hard. And they got into a rhythm, had it rolling. It's tough to stop that. So we got to come out ready to play.
How do you kind of look at a loss like this where, I guess shoulder scope, you guys are whatever, 16-4 in the last 20, but obviously.
It's a bad loss. It's a terrible loss. When you're in the position where we got a chance to compete for something. 11 games left with everything to play for. You shouldn't have a loss like this. It's too much on the line. You got to win the games you're supposed to win. Obviously, Steph's out. Still a game we should win. So it's a terrible loss.
I guess with that in mind, what are the keys to responding in Miami?
I got to come to play. Come out and play defensively. Come out and play hard. We got Jimmy over here. I know this is a big game for him. They got Wiggs over there. I know it's a huge game for him. So just like we want to win for Jimmy, they're going to want to win for Wiggs. We got to come out ready to play. They've lost, 10 games in a row? 6 or 7 of those games come down to 4 or 5 point games, last couple of possessions. So it's a little fool's gold that they've lost 10 in a row.
All right, so there's Draymond Green, and I certainly respect what Draymond has to say there. It will always confuse me, and this is where I have no insight whatsoever because I'm so unathletic. I played in high school. I played high school sports. I played lacrosse in college just for the heck of it, and intramural sports and all these kind of things. But I am by no means an athlete and don't understand sometimes an athlete mentality. But there's 11 games left in the season. I understand a lull in an NBA season. So you start in now mid-October. That's a long-ass season. So if you have a lull in January at some point, February at some point, people, if you want to equate it to baseball, guy has 600 at-bats in a season. I'm sorry, he just can't be locked in for 600 at-bats. Just can't happen. There's going to be 100 at-bats where you just go, maybe not 100, maybe 50 at-bats where a guy just is clueless at the plate, right? He's just not locked in mentally. There's such a fine line between good, great, bad, and excellent, whatever, however you want to determine those kind of things. But I'm listening to what he has to say there. It's like, how can you come out flat? I that will always confuse me as someone who has covered sports for as long as I have, that you have a game against Atlanta and you are barely ahead of Minnesota and the Clippers and you're fighting for your life and you're really excited about what this team could potentially do. But I've said this consistently throughout this whole process is if they don't get the 6, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. They've lost their last 3 games in the play-in. I understand that's without Jimmy Butler. Every year is different. I understand that. But as I popped up in the standings, a team like the Suns, for example, who sit at 10, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. But Durant could get hot for a night, and you play the Clippers and Harden and Kawhi, and Kawhi's playing some great basketball. They could get hot for a certain night, or Minnesota could, or any of these teams, not for a long period of time, not for an entire series, but we're looking at the NCAA tournament right now. For one game or for 2 games, a team can just kind of find some magic, and everything's going in, and they're playing great defensively, and they got a lot of confidence, and all of a sudden you're out, and you're scratching your head, and you're going, wait a minute, we have Jimmy Butler. Weren't we talking about how we matched up in the Western Conference and how we could beat anybody? And Lund kept telling me that there's these young teams like Houston and Oklahoma City and Memphis who don't have a lot of experience, and the Warriors were going to come in game 1, and they're going to punch them in the mouth, and they were going to put them on their heels, and they were going to be nervous. What was he talking about there? And that's what I mean and Draymond Green just said it. Like sometimes he leaves his body and says, yeah, almost like he's talking about a different team. Like we weren't prepared. We weren't ready. Because you could tell he was looking down. And he wasn't defiant like he is a lot of times in post-game press conferences. He was almost apologetic. Like, we were so bad. I'm sorry about the performance. It's like, well, you're the emotional leader of the team. So it's on you. Like, you got to, I don't know what you have to say, but between you and Jimmy Butler, I thought there'd be less of those kind of games. Plus, you don't have Steph Curry. So that's why when they lost to Denver and then Curry doesn't play against Milwaukee, and I'm looking at the game and I'm going, it was funny because I went, I'm terrible at predicting. I'm terrible at gambling. But I looked at that game and I said, they're going to beat Milwaukee. They're going to be focused in. They just got embarrassed by Denver without Jokic, without Murray. They're going to be completely locked in. And that's what it takes. A lot of times we think about the physical side of professional sports or sports in general. It's a mental game. So I just look at certain games on the schedule. You're going to lose certain games because 3 games in 5 nights or back-to-backs or it's tired or you're late or someone's hurt or there's all these things. But when I looked at the Atlanta game, I thought to myself, well, they're going to be locked in. They're not going to have Steph Curry. You got Butler, you got Green. And I understand somebody hit me up on the chat line there. Hey, Atlanta's the 7th seed in the East. I understand that. Atlanta's not very good. And it's not like you could just walk in there and throw your shoes on the court. They're not that bad. As I said, they've got some guys who can play. There's no question about it. I like the Dyson kid. Trae Young is obvious. They got some guys who can play on that team, no doubt. They're kind of mismatched, and they're not a very good team. And you got to walk in there, and like Draymond Green said, you got to win the games you're supposed to win. And I was watching that game going, they are just not locked in. It's one thing to get beat. Draymond Green, I think, could deal with getting beat. But what happened is they just, as he said, they just weren't prepared. They weren't mentally there. And I'm going, there's 11 games left in the season. And it's not like you're clear of anybody. You're not Oklahoma City. Like, if Oklahoma City has a couple of lulls here, I get it. They've already got the number 1 seed locked up. The Warriors don't have anything locked up. The Warriors could be the 8. The Warriors could be the 4, the 3. They could do something if they rolled off here, and it's going to be tough. So that leads us to the conversation of, so Dre speaks on loss. Dub's update I gave you. The Curry dilemma is this. Let me pop this up on the screen for you. Right here. This is from Shams right there, as you can see. Traveling to join the Warriors in Miami. Status for Tuesday's game against the Heat depends on treatment response for his pelvic bruise over the next 2 days. Blah, blah, blah. Golden State on a game 2 of a 6-game trip. This is, you come home and you expect to win some of those games, but a road trip, as we just saw in Atlanta, who knows? And as Draymond Green just said, Miami's going to be motivated. The arena is going to have some buzz in it. Normally, Miami doesn't have any buzz in it. South Beach, things going on. If the Heat aren't any good, it's kind of like LA with the Lakers, kind of like we got other things to do. There's plenty to do in Miami. We don't need to go inside when it's 80 degrees outside and watch the Heat play. Heck with that. So they won't. But Jimmy Butler's coming back. There's going to be buzz in the building. Andrew Wiggins scored 42, and I'll get into that over the weekend. And so there's a little bit of buzz around them. And as Draymond said, having lost 10 in a row, they're not a horrible basketball team, but you walk in there and you're like, okay, is Curry going to play or not? And this is the dilemma that the Warriors face, is that if it was the middle of the season, if it was the start of the season, if they didn't need to win these games, and if they had won in Atlanta without him, I doubt Steph Curry plays in this Miami game, but they're looking at the standings just like you and I are on this Monday, and they say, we're going to be forced to play this guy. It's a pelvic bruise. It's not something that, it's a pain tolerance issue. I don't know what they'll do with it medically, but it's not like, he twisted his knee and that thing could get worse, or he twisted an ankle and that thing could get worse. It's pain tolerance. It's a bruise. And I'm not, I'm sitting there saying it in kind of a cavalier fashion, like, dude, get on the court. It's a friggin' bruise. Let's go. But they need him now. You win that game in Atlanta, it's one thing, but you lose to a team that's lost 10 in a row in Miami. And Jimmy's going to be juiced out of the building in this thing, that they're probably going to be forced to play Curry because there's 11 games left and you can't fall into the 7. And I know you win one game in that play-in a 7-seed game, then you're already in the playoffs and you're playing the 2 and you're fine. But if you don't win that game, then it's more wear and tear on your players. You start to get nervous. They had, like I said, their last 3 playing games, they're 0-3. So you just want to stay out of that whole scenario, the whole NCAA tournament, one and done kind of a thing. And I know as the 7, you're not one and done, but still you put yourself in a position that your season could end in a game. And you don't want to do that. A longer series, better situation for the Warriors. The Warriors are great at figuring teams out. Steph is great at it. Draymond's great at it. Jimmy's great at it. Like the 7-game series means I'm going to figure you out at some point. And the Warriors are really good at figuring teams out, especially young teams. So that's what you want. But it can end really fast. So the Warriors tonight are sitting there going, tomorrow night are going, okay, well, what do we do here? We just lost to Atlanta. Can't lose again. We can't expect the Clippers and Minnesota, who were so red hot up until last week, or actually the Clippers up until over the weekend, to continue to lose games for us. We're not going to do that. So they might be forced to play Steph tomorrow night only due to the fact that they lost in Atlanta. They win in Atlanta, then they buy themselves some time. They think, okay, Jimmy's going to play really, really well. They're going to be motivated. The team's going to be motivated. Now, they'll play great in Miami. Just for the very fact that Dre went to the podium and went, I don't understand. We just were flat. We didn't play well, blah, blah, blah. We weren't into it. Like I said, they'll go back to the original discussion point of this. I don't get it. Like with 11 games left, I'm sorry, I don't get it. I don't know how you can have a flat game with 11 games left with those two teams breathing down your neck. But I'm not an athlete. Clearly, look at me. I'm not an athlete, and I don't have an athlete's mentality, but I just know that there are certain times where you would think just logically 10 games left in the season, 11 games left in the season, teams breathing down your neck. You're on a critical road trip. Steph Curry's not playing. If you're not going to be locked in at that point, what locks you in? I don't understand. So anyway, hopefully Steph can play. Hopefully Steph is healthy and they're not just playing him because they have to play him, but I have a sense that they're going to play him because they have to play him. And if it was the middle of the season, I don't think they'd play him. I think they'd just be like, hey, like I said, in 2021, he missed 5 games. Because of a similar injury. So I think that they would love to let him rest, especially at the age of 37, but it's not going to happen. All right, here's the theory, and you know this if you watch the show with any regularity. Someone has to score on bad teams. So this happened with Dennis Schroeder earlier in the season when he was with Brooklyn, and everybody was all excited because Dennis Schroeder was averaging about 18 points, 7 assists, 6 boards, something like that. And the Warriors picked him up, and everybody thought, well, they're going to get that Dennis Schroeder. He's going to score 18. He's going to, dish 7. He's going to grab 5, 6 boards. This is going to be awesome. We're going to add this to the team. It doesn't work like that. When you have a bad team, somebody has to score. Somebody has to assist. Somebody has to rebound. Somebody's got to get numbers. And that happened to be Dennis Schroeder, who was playing like 34 minutes a night. That's why I didn't want to trade for Cam Johnson. That's why I'm very, very, very weary of trading for players who get big numbers on bad teams, because somebody's got to do it. The trick and the hardest thing is to get big numbers on a good team, because what you've got is you've got a lot of different guys, a lot of, like when the Warriors had Kevin Durant, they had Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and all these different guys. And all of a sudden you turn around, and it was funny at one point, if you remember this, all three of those guys were averaging like 17 shots a game. And it's not like they were like, okay, you have 15 shots, let's get you another shot. They were just, that's just the way they did it. So there's an old player, not old, but when the Minnesota Timberwolves in 89, I think it was, were an expansion team, and they picked off the expansion list, and they picked a guy from the Lakers called named Tony Campbell. He was out of Ohio State. He was like 6'7", swingman, and he wasn't particularly great. But then he went to Minnesota and averaged, I don't know, you could look it up, but I'm going to just do it off the top of my head, like 16, 18, 20 points a game. And everybody thought Tony Campbell was really good, and then he'd go back to a good team, and it was like, oh. And I called it the Tony Campbell rule, because someone has to score. So look, Andrew Wiggins, people are going to see 42 points, 6 3-pointers made. Where was that guy? Like the first thing you think of when you see that right there, Andrew Wiggins tonight, 42 points. And where was that Wiggs? Where was that Wiggs on the Warriors? What happened to that guy? Well, he's not going to score 42 on the Warriors because they've got players around him. Now, I know Bam Adebayo is there, Tyler Hero is there. There's enough guys, but they're a bad team right now. And so they've given the ultimate green light to Andrew Wiggins. There's no pressure on Andrew Wiggins like there was here. It's not about winning. It's just whatever, dude. We're just trying to finish out the season. And what that also tells you is, like, if you had almost any player in the NBA, and Wiggins has special skills, I'm not saying he doesn't, but even guys who don't normally score, and then you play like a pickup game or something, or they'd play at UCLA in the offseason or whatever when the place that Klay got hurt, they're just playing pickup ball to stay in shape. Most guys in the NBA could throw 20, 30 on you, no problem. It's just you don't think guys are defending. They are. It's really difficult to score in the league. But, a guy like Wiggins, incredibly talented. And if he's got all the reins off him and he can do whatever he wants, somebody's got to score. Somebody's got to grab boards. Somebody's got to dish assists. Like it's the Tony Campbell rule. And it's not like, and not a lot of people were saying this to me. A few people hit me up on the different various ways that you can get a hold of me. We're like, where was this Wiggs? Where was this Wiggs? Where was this Wiggs? He wouldn't exist. Like, you could trade for him, and then he's going to come here and he's just going to do the same thing. He's a third, fourth scorer on a really good team. On a team with nobody, like Miami, he's lost 10 in a row, and it's just like, dude, we're just playing out the string. So he's completely relaxed, like it's a summer game at UCLA, and he throws in 42. Like, he could throw in 42 in his sleep. He's that good and he's that talented, but everybody's making a big deal that he scored 42. And it's like, look, somebody's got to score on a bad team. He wouldn't come here and score 42. I'm glad for the guy. Look, I'm excited to see what to see what kind of an attitude he comes out with. He versus Jimmy, they're going to match up on the defensive end, each other. I think it's going to be great. I think that the building's going to be buzzing. I wouldn't miss that game tomorrow night. But I'm not wishing for Andrew Wiggins back because he scored 42. And some people were hitting me up going, oh, if it was this guy, and it's like, this guy would never exist here. Tony Campbell rule. This guy would never exist here. Just saying. All right. I'm going to do this deli story in just a second. No, it's not a deli, like a sandwich. And we could go on a sandwich binge right now if we wanted to. But I won't. Let's go out to the text line real quick, or the comment line, because I haven't hit anybody up in a little while, and I just went on that whole thing about the Dubs. So again, Dre speaks on the loss. I'll always be at a loss for words when it comes to a critical situation, and I think with 11 games left in the season, we're at a critical juncture of the season, and to not be locked in, especially when you don't have Steph Curry. I'm no psychologist. If someone is a psychologist, let me know how that works, because I don't get it. Like, if you have a really big presentation, all right, let's just make it let's equate this to semi-real world, because sports is different. We talk about it all the time. But if you have a major presentation, like you're ready, like you're jacked, right? You're just like, okay, I'm ready to go. Whatever it is you do for a living, and whatever the biggest thing is in your line of work, like you're ready, like you're locked in, like you wake up on certain days. Like I remember covering NBA Finals or World Series or whatever, and that was the holy grail to me. That was my Super Bowl. That was like, there's certain points during the season. I'll give you another example of it. I don't know, this sounds weird, I know, but when we would go down to 49ers headquarters for the draft every single year, and the draft was right next to us, and this was the future of the 49ers, and I did so much research and so much work and so much reading and so much talking to people and so much, because I wanted it to be great. And we were on for like 6 or 8 hours, and it was a big deal. And the 49ers were all watching and listening, and it was a big deal. And so on those days, it was like, I am locked. Like, that's my Super Bowl. That's my, there's certain things that in your business are your Super Bowls, are the biggest days. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, you've trudged through this entire season, and a lot of nights, I can't blame you. I can't blame you for not getting up for a random game against the Pacers on a Thursday. I can't blame you for if you have a letdown against the Wizards. I can't blame you if, you know what I mean? We can go through that whole scenario, but you understand what I mean. There are certain games where it's like, honestly, I don't know how they get up for the game. You got 82 games. It's I don't know, early January. You're in the doldrums of the whole thing, and it's like you got Washington coming in, and it's like, how the hell do I get motivated for this? That's why like guys like Michael Jordan would try to find things to motivate them throughout it. He used to talk about it all the time. Like, was there a certain guy that ever disrespected me? Was there a certain fan or certain? That's why he had that whole mentality of, there is a fan in the stadium tonight, in the arena tonight, who's never seen me play. And so I've got to put on this show for the guy in section, 215 up there, who's holding up the sign, my first Michael Jordan game. He's like, okay, he's never seen me. And what's all the hype about Michael Jordan? That's how he motivated himself. He talked about it constantly. That there's a person in this building who has never seen me play and doesn't think I'm all that. That's what he would do over 82 games. It's hard. It's hard to have 600 at bats. It's hard. 17 games is different. Like in the NFL, you lose a game and you lose one of those games. That's like you go, like you got to be locked in for 17. I know it's difficult. It's human nature. You're not as good as you are every single day. I'll have certain shows where I'm like, that was good. I was locked. Really, really good. Other days I go, I got to quit. I got to quit this. This is not for me. Like, that's just how it is. Everybody does that, right? A lot of times on a Monday, Mondays are like, man, I got to ease into the week. But in our business, like Mondays and Fridays especially are really, really important. Our listenership, viewership, and everything goes up. Like, what was the weekend like? Let's recap it. I'm going to tune into Lund. He's not doing a very good job. He's talking about liquor, and we're 5 minutes into the show. So I get it. Anyway, that's where I'm. Oh, let's go to Delhi. Oh, no. Let me go to the chat line first. Make sure. Let's see. They were horrible and beat the Bulls 72-10. Yeah, I don't know if they were ever not locked in. I'd have to go back. And look at the Warriors when they were 73-9. That Bulls team, I remember. I don't remember them ever not being locked in, because you know what they did. If you didn't watch that team, defensively and offensively, look, you're going to miss shots. Offensively, if you go out, and we saw this in the tournament, St. John's over the weekend, and you just miss shots, sometimes, man, there's just a lid on the basket, and you can do everything right, and you're just not making shots. But you can always play defense. You can always effort. You can always rebound. You can always do, like those Bulls teams. And again, over a 72-10 season, I'm sure they had an off game. I'm sure they had some lucky games they won. I didn't see every single one of them, but I remember watching them a ton that year. And same thing with the Warriors, obviously, when they went 73-9. And very rarely do I remember an entire game. There might be stretches, but remember that team in the third quarter? They just like, okay, we didn't play really well in the first half. How about this? Just pedal to the metal in the third quarter, and they would blow your doors off. And then Steph Curry's on the bench going, "What's up, man? What's going on?" Just drinking not a cocktail, but having a little Gatorade or whatever it is. And he's sitting out the fourth quarter. It was insane. Like they would lock in for a quarter and beat you. They didn't have to lock in for a whole game. Same thing with the Bulls. The Bulls just would kind of mess around, like playing with your food kind of a thing. When a cat plays with the mouse or something, that's what the Bulls would do. Then they just lock you down whenever they wanted. They just, okay, we're just going to play defense now, and the game's over. And all of a sudden, Jordan's going to score a few on one end, but Pippen, Jordan, Rodman, whomever, they just lock in. They just lock in and be like, see ya, game's over. Warriors do the same thing. Like one quarter, third quarter, see ya, game over. All right, let me get to this Delavadova thing, just because I got to be honest with you. This is said all the time in sports radio. Like, I've never seen this, right? Never seen this. I have never seen this. So before I play the video, let me just show you this highlight. Let me see, or excuse me, this kind of thing that kind of explains exactly what it is, so that I don't have to explain it, because it's a championship situation. And let me see where it is. Harrison, Sutter Health, George Foreman. Don't tell me I didn't post this thing. I know I did, because I put it there. It is. Delhi story. Here it is right here. All right, so Matthew Delavadova won the NBL Finals MVP despite his team losing the series, believing Hawks guard 𝐬𝐿 earned it more. Delhi gave him the trophy after 𝐬𝐿 put up 21, 10, and 8 in Game 5. Pure class. So here's the video of it. This is actually pretty cool. Matthew Delavadova, St. Mary's own, pain in the ass to the Warriors with the Cavs, and he decides, Chuck Howley's the guy who won it, by the way. The only time in Super Bowl history, Chuck Howley won the MVP, only time a player in the Super Bowl came from a losing team. I don't think we'll ever see this again, but here is Matthew Delavadova doing just that.
Dude, this really belongs to you. You had a hell of a series. Congratulations on the win. To our boys, thanks for a fun season. To our families, we appreciate everything you do. But Davo, this is yours.
Okay, there's a few different things that I got that blow my mind. First of all, that's amazing sportsmanship. It's amazing sportsmanship, and it's at the professional level, like Little League, all that stuff. You can talk about, that kind of stuff. It's professional. It's classy. I don't know if that. So when they put that down in history, I have no idea how this league works. When they put that down in history, and Dellavedova wins the MVP, so the media votes on it, whatever, and they give it to the losing guy. Does the guy who won because Dellavedova gave it to him? Does he get the MVP? Do they put that down in history? They etch that down like, okay, that goes the MVP because Dellavedova didn't want it, or because the media voted for Dellavedova? Does Dellavedova still get it? But then the piece of whatever that he handed to the other guy, like, that's amazing to me. Like, I've never seen it. Plus, here's the other thing that flashed through my mind. So, does the losing team in that NBL? We got to get Andrew Bogut on or something. Andrew Bogut. We got to get him on. Because, like, the losing team was sitting out there during the ceremony. Like, for a minute, like, when the confetti's falling down and all that kind of stuff, and the Niners and the Chiefs, like, they acknowledge the other team really quickly. They get the hell out of there. They don't want to see the trophy presentation and all that kind of stuff. So their guys were sitting there. Like, you see the guy with his, like, this? As Dellavedova was doing that, there was a guy, like, their bench is like, oh, man, this is terrible. I got to sit through this. Like, seriously. What is that all about, man? It's like, get us off the court. Like, I guess that's just like a sportsmanship thing. Like, you will sit here and watch. Like, some guys do that in the World Series. You lose the World Series and you'll see a guy or two sit in the opposing dugout. I don't know what that is. Like, they want to feel the pain so that'll motivate them somehow the next year. Like, I'm going to feel all of this. I'm going to just sit here. And they do. They just sit in the other dugout like this. Like, I hate my life, but I'm going to sit here. It's like, I would be so out of there. I'm not watching you celebrate. What, are you kidding me? Get out of here. Anyway, that was odd. Everybody's different. But I don't, in American sports, I don't think, I could be wrong, but in American sports, like, you could get the MVP trophy. Like, not that I think that will ever happen. I don't think in any sport a losing player would ever win MVP. Like, there was discussions that LeBron could be the MVP in some of the Warriors championships. There's no way. Like, it's always got to be on the winning team, because if you were the MVP, your team would have lost, right? I mean, I didn't watch that series, and I don't know how well Matthew Delavadova played. Obviously, he had to have played well, but it's got to be from the winning team, in my mind. And it happened once in the Super Bowl. It'll never happen again, because the winning player made winning plays. Hence, he's the or she's the MVP. I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyway, I'll give it up to Matthew Delavadova. I mean, that's a classy as hell thing to do. If I lost and I won MVP, I'm not giving it back. Like, you don't get it. That is awkward, though. And the championship goes to the Hawks or whatever. That team's name was the Hawks. I don't know what Dellavedova's team knows, but the MVP is Matthew Delavadova. It's like, then he goes up there even though he lost. I mean, I'm going to give it up to him, because it's like, well, I lost, so I can't be the MVP, can I? Weird, but give him a ton of, give him a ton of credit. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I think you're right. 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, you're 100% right, man. Jerry West was the first and only losing player to win the Finals MVP. You're right. You are 100% right, actually. Bogut. Yeah, we got it. Bogut's a great guy. I never told you this story. This is great. And we actually made up afterwards. So when Andrew Bogut first came here, who was the guy? Travis Blackley, I think, was the guy's name. He was a pitcher for the A's. And I can't remember what it was, but I tweeted something, and it might have been a dig at Australia or something in the Coliseum or whatever it was. And obviously the Warriors are playing at Oracle Arena over there. And he said something to me, and I said something back, and I was joking with him. Like, hey, something. He said something, mate. And I said something, mate, back. And I think that it kind of pissed him off. Like, he thought I was like, I don't know. I was making fun of Australia or something. I wasn't. And we kind of had a back and forth. And it was just it was actually funny. He was actually really funny about it. And then I saw him in a game, and I just said, hey, we went back and forth, and I was just joking about, oh, yeah, okay. It was kind of one of those things that get lost in translation. You know what I mean? Even though he'd been obviously went to the University of Utah, it's not like he's new here, but it was something that kind of got lost in translation. It was probably my fault, probably a poor joke on my part or something like that. But anyway, he had just gotten traded over here, and I don't think he understood what I was trying to say, and back and forth. And then I saw him at a game. I was like, hey, this and that. So he's a good dude, really good dude. Really bad phone, though. For years, he was on with Tolbert in the afternoon, and he had probably the worst cell phone in the history of people that were guests. It was awful. It would break up at least 2-3 times. Terrible. No, I wasn't going to fight him. Are you kidding me? Massive dude. But really cool. I mean, probably one of the coolest and smartest dudes you could ever meet in your life. Very cool. Good call on Jerry West, by the way. Very, very good. All right, anything else on the NBA? We have done through episode 96. Dre speaks on the loss. Dubs update. Curry dilemma. Do you play him tomorrow night? You kind of have to. Wiggs gets 42, but there's a theory behind that. No, you don't want Wiggs back. It's called the Tony Campbell rule. Check it out. Miami Jimmy, I expect him to step up with or without Steph. I absolutely expect them to step up and win that game. Delhi MVP. That's where we are on the chalkboard on this Monday, March 24th edition of the show, as we're 46 minutes into the show. Real quick, thank you so much for tuning in. It is John Lund Unleashed on YouTube, as well as Bay Area Sports Collective. You are potentially watching us on Twitch, on X at John Lund Radio, on Instagram at John Lund Radio, or on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook, John Lund and John Lund Unleashed. So however you are watching us, thank you for making time. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Maybe you're watching the show back. Absolutely appreciate that too. You can always watch the show back. I do right after the show. You can either go back now or stay with us. And then what I do is I quickly, probably within 30 minutes, put a chapters up. So then what you can do is you can click to whatever. It'll just say what we were talking about at that particular time. And then you can click onto those scenes and you can watch whenever you want. And I am aware, by the way, if you're looking for the podcast, Apple, Spotify, I ran into an issue a few days ago. I didn't realize it. And then people started hitting me up going, hey, man, what's going on? The podcast we had switched it over somewhere else for the new Bay Area Sports Collective. And so we'll get that fixed today and make sure that we have the podcast up, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. So I want to make sure that you know that. And as I always say, go to johnlundunleashed.com for all things Unleashed. So all the social media, shows, archives, podcasts, the blog, merchandise, all that kind of stuff at johnlundunleashed.com. There you go. Thank you. Good to see some new people in the room. Papa J is here, rocking New Era. It is awesome to see you, my friend. Steve, good morning. JJ Raider is here, 49er Red Zone. Do you come from the land down and that was such a good Men at Work? Men at Work. That video would play like 5 times at an hour on MTV when it first came out. Just the guy sitting in the chair, whatever it's Collins, something or other was his name. Anyway. Good to see everybody. By the way, there's somebody soliciting. I was going to say there was somebody giving us a comment from Twitch, but then it was just a solicitation. Very nice. What else do we have? Good morning. Did I say good morning to Todd? Hello, Todd. Good morning to you. Richard, excellent to see you, man. I think we've seen you in the room before, but it is excellent. Everybody say good morning to Richard. Let Steph rest. They can win enough to stay out of the play-in. I hope so. I do. And I think that they'll focus, obviously. This is my good friend, Dom. Dom and I have been talking over email. He's going to help me out with a few things, which is very, very cool. Dom, I'm looking forward to seeing you Thursday, by the way. Paulie and Tony are going to be at a pizza joint that we're going to tell you all about on Thursday. And so we're looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll see you on Thursday. What's the place called again, Dom? Tell me the place so I can make sure that everybody comes down there. I don't have it off the top of my head, but hit their major sponsor, and they're going to hang out for the road game, for the opening road game. And by the way, do remember, here's another thing too, that we're starting the Friday show, Krug and I. So tonight, I'm on the Krug show with Larry Krueger right here on YouTube. But also Friday, we start our show, and everybody, including Dom, by the way, has come up with some great ideas. So I've got to make sure that we have and I've got the voice work and everything. I got to make sure that we have a name for that. So I'm going to talk to Krug about it today, and we'll get that thing going. Plus, we're dotting I's, crossing T's, getting a sponsor. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you haven't heard about that, what we're going to do is him and I are going to be in the room, and then we're going to kind of have like an overlay of the Giants game, and then you can hang out, and we're not going to be negative. Doesn't matter what's going on. We're just going to have a good time on a Friday night, hang out, watch old Giants, with Krug and I, drink a few beers, whatever. So it's going to be a good time had by all. So that's going to be starting this Friday. Thursday, we're going to be out on location. There it is right there. There's the joint right there. Longbridge Pizza on 3rd, walking distance to Oracle and Chase. So there you go. Longbridge Pizza, which is their major sponsor of Polymac and Creative Tony. So that is this Thursday, Longbridge Pizza on 3rd. So we'll go and we'll hang out and we'll watch opening day. That'll be a good time. Get there early. All right, there you go. There's my good friends from East Coast Red and Gold Podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to those guys as well. They do an awesome job. I was on their show a little while ago. We're trying to get Papa on their show. I'm working on it. Just so you know, East Coast Red and Gold. I'm working on it. We'll see what we can do. But anyway, so make sure that you are there so that we can hang out for opening day. All right. I think we're good. Yeah, let's discuss that. Steve, you nailed it because that's where we are. How about the latest rumor, Brock to be traded for 2 1s? Jed too cheap to pay. That rumor, let's go back to, remember last week where Greg Bedard is a really great guy, really well respected in NFL circles. But I told you I went back and it didn't take a whole lot of looking. And because people are so lazy nowadays, they just don't do it. So the Patriots rumor for Brandon Ayuk last week was based on a little notes column that Greg Bedard had written in Boston. And it's not Greg that I'm talking about. Greg had written a notes column, and all he said was, hey, I have a feeling in my bones that the Patriots aren't done adding receivers. Brandon Ayuk's out there. T. Higgins is not out there. He mentioned a couple other names, A.J. Brown, and everyone went crazy and said, well, clearly Ayuk's going to the Patriots. It was based on, I have a feeling in my bones that the Patriots are still looking at receivers, and then people ran with that in a slow time between the end of free agency and the draft. So we're in this kind of dead period, which the NFL, as you know, does an amazing job of staying relevant, But in this period of time that's dead, people who write or do podcasts like I do or write or do all these different things on multimedia, people like me, it's a dead period. It's like, oh my God, they're just, where's content? I'm going to lose clicks. And so it's like, Ayuk's getting traded. You see that thing about Ayuk? And nobody does 2 clicks and says, oh, this is from a guy saying, I have a feeling in my bones. And he didn't say it's a feeling in my bones that Ayuk's getting traded here. It was a feeling in my bones that the Patriots weren't done adding at the receiver position. And he mentioned Brandon Ayuk. So it's got all the ingredients of a Brandon Ayuk rumor, another team and his name. That's it. And so there was no real basis to it. And so now this whole Brock Purdy thing originates from Craig, what's his name? Craig Carton or whatever it is, the guy that's out of New York who's unbearable on a Fox show that gets no ratings whatsoever. And he was in prison for gambling and all that kind of stuff. So he goes on that show with no basis whatsoever and says that the New York Giants could trade 3 first-round picks to the Niners, and Aaron Rodgers plays quarterback for the Niners. And I've told you that it's not happening, that Kyle and he would kill each other in the first OTA. We have a report out of Santa Clara today that Aaron Rodgers has been killed. He's been choked by Kyle Shanahan, more at 11. Like, that's what it would be, like the first day. And he would walk in there and the negative nature that he has and all these kind of things. And you think that Jed York is going to pay Aaron Rodgers any kind of type of money that Aaron Rodgers would want with his gigantic ego? Yeah, let's pull back the entire offseason, but let's pay Brock Purdy let's pay Aaron Rodgers $40 million to literally ruin this team from the inside out. It's not happening. So he threw that out there. It was on FS1 on their morning show. And then all of a sudden it became an actual rumor. And it's not a rumor because they're not trading him and they're working on a contract, and contracts take time. And I hate to have to keep doing this, but it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. And Brock Purdy's not giving a hometown discount. And so that leads to my percentage. It says Purdy, and it's got a percentage sign there is what that is. So we did this on Saturday. Let me throw something up there first. And again, this has to do with Mac Jones, and this has to do with a lot of different things. But I'm going to play 2 things for you that I played on Saturday, but bear, I think, repeating, just so that we can try to educate everybody, myself included, by the way. I'm not sitting here acting like I know everything, but I did just a tiny bit more chicken scratch. I scratched some things on a piece of paper this morning, right before the show, because I was like, oh yeah, we got to talk about that. So as far as the Purdy percentage is concerned, let me play 2 things for you. This is Mike Garafolo. And we played this late last week, but this is a great point by him that I hadn't heard anybody bring up in regards to how this is going to work. So To just back up a little bit, there's two trains of thought here. You're either going to pay Brock Purdy $55 to $60 million average annual value, or he's just not worth it. Now, got to find something else. And I said this on Saturday and I've said it consistently. If they were going to use leverage, they could have used it on Sam Darnold, who they really, really like. I know that. They really, really like Sam Darnold. He signed 3 and 110 in Seattle, which is actually a 1-year, $35 million contract. So in the rare case that there was actually quarterback leverage, there was leverage for a team against a quarterback this offseason, and the 49ers had no interest in it for a guy who had been here the year before and they knew all about. So if you're not going to use the leverage on Sam Darnold, who was your backup quarterback the year before, that and I know for a fact, having been there as much as I was that year, and in training camp and through practices and down there 3 times a week, believe me, they liked Sam Darnold. There were people in the building for the 49ers in the year that he was the backup here that said out loud that the 49ers could win a Super Bowl with Sam Darnold at quarterback. There were a lot of people, and people who with authority in that building in Santa Clara, who thought that if Brock Purdy got hurt in 2023, the year they went to the Super Bowl in Vegas, that Sam Darnold could lead them and win a Super Bowl. There are people who believe that. And he played so well in Minnesota last year. I know the last 2 games weren't good, but there's kind of some proof to that. So back to my original thought, which is if they were going to use leverage and say, we are not comfortable in paying Brock Purdy the going rate for a top quarterback in this league, which he is, then we're just going to, we know Sam Darnold. He was here for a year. We know his work ethic. We saw him play. We saw him work. We saw him behind the scenes. We know everything we need to know about Sam Darnold. Did they go after him? Did they try? Did they contact the agent? No, 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 and no. That was the perfect scenario. Hey, Jed York here, John and Kyle, I'm not comfortable giving Brock Purdy $60 million, and we know Sam Darnold, and we know the market is going to be a lot less. Why don't we look into that? They didn't look into it. Aaron Rodgers, not going to come here. Who else? There's no other leverage out there would make any kind of sense. I understand the Aaron Rodgers connection because he went to Cal. Yes, they should have taken him in 2005, which is now over 20 years ago. They're not doing that. He's a major pain in the ass. And all you have to do is look at Kyle's history to know that he doesn't want that kind of a quarterback as his guy. He wants a quarterback that's going to say, yes, sir, I'll run the offense. I understand how the play goes this way. Aaron Rodgers is going to walk in and go, And he's not going to say, like, with all due respect, I think this. He's just going to walk in and say, nah, I don't like that. That's not going to work with Kyle Shanahan. So Aaron Rodgers is not an option. Sam Darnold could have been an option, but was not. They did not pursue Sam Darnold at all. And if you were going to do that, and if you were uncomfortable paying Brock, that's what you would have done. You would have at least looked into Sam Darnold. They did not. So with that as the backdrop, this is what's interesting. For those who don't think he's going to get paid, listen to what Mike Garafolo says here, and then I got a little bit of math for you.
It's a system that people think, oh, you just plug a quarterback in and he runs the system. It's more that, oh, really? Because they tried to do that with a couple of guys. And it didn't work as well as it has with Brock Purdy. So Purdy is going to look at this and say, I need to be paid like one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Now, if you go back over the last 5 years or so and you see the quarterback deals that were done, the average per year is usually like anywhere from 21-ish to 25% of the salary cap. If it's on the low end of that, he's going to clear guys like Trevor Lawrence. Now, he's not going to get the Dak Prescott's number of 60, but he'll be in the high 50s. If he really wanted to push it to Joe Burrow, who took the biggest chunk of the salary cap, that's like $68 million per year. I don't get the sense that Brock Purdy wants to go there because that's going to hurt the team's ability to do other things like we were just talking about. But he wants his respect, and he wants money that's in line with those other quarterbacks. So I don't see this getting done until the 49ers and Brock Purdy agree on a number that's.
All right, I like what Mike said, and he kind of went off the deep end a little bit at the end. Let me just concentrate on what he said about the percentages, and then also what he says about he's not going to get to Dak Prescott's number, and I'm not so sure that is the case. So here's what I did this morning, because we talked about this a little bit on Saturday. So throw everything else out. What matters is, and how the agent is going to look at this whole thing is percentage of the cap. Percentage of the cap. So the top 10 quarterbacks, and I looked this up this morning, the top 10 quarterbacks, for example, Josh Allen, 23.6% of the cap. Burrow's at the top at 24.5% of their cap. Jared Goff is the lowest, 20.8% of the cap. Herbert, 23.4% of the cap. Lamar Jackson, 23% of the cap. Hurts, 22.7%. Murray, 22.1%. You get my idea here. So here's the deal. the salary cap went up to $279+ million. Let's just use $279 million. You can do this at home, but I've already done this for you. So if at the cap at $279 million, if we went to the high end, which the highest percentage of taking up his team's cap space for a quarterback right now, which is all the NFL, is Joe Burrow at 24.5%. So 24.5% on a $279 million cap is $68 million AAV. All right, so for just a second, the guarantees, there's all these different things that are going to make this contract very, very complicated. But just in this instance, we're going to make it really, really simple. Think percentage of cap, because that's what nobody talks about this, but this is what the agent is going to say. So Burrow is the high end at 24.5%. 24.5% of $279 million is $68 million. So at the high end, it's $68 million. At the low end, which Jared Goff, amongst the top 10 quarterbacks, Jared Goff takes 20.8%. So that's $58 million. At the bottom end of the AAV right now with a $279 million cap at 20.8%, which is the lowest among the top 10 paid quarterbacks in this league, is 20.8% or $58 million. That's $279 million. 20.8% of that cap is $58 million. So that's the lowest that Brock Purdy is probably going to take. That's what his agent is saying. His agent is saying, wait a minute, of the top 10 quarterbacks, and Brock is a top 10 quarterback. Whatever you say, Brock's a top 10 quarterback. The Niners have fawned all over him. He is, in their mind, a top 10 quarterback. That's just what it is. So just think of it in these terms, and it's very, very simplistic. So when you get into this whole conversation and all these talking head shows and everything, and I don't mean to go all David Lombardi because he's brilliant at this kind of stuff, but it's really simple. The lowest of the top 10 quarterbacks as far as percentage of cap is concerned is Jared Goff at 20.8%. That's $58 million AAV. If the cap goes up, Brock's getting paid more. So even Mike Garafolo, who's really good at his job, and people think it's not going to, well, it can't be $55 million. He's not worth $55 million. Stop with this whole thing. I'm going to play this for you in just a second. Something that Mike Florio said over the weekend. People have got to stop with the 262 thing, because that's where it sticks. If he was Mac Jones, who's the backup now, who was picked 15th overall in the first round, who stinks and is not competition whatsoever, no matter what anybody says to you. He's not competition. He stinks. And I'll play that for you in just a second. If he was a first round pick, 15th overall, and he had played to Brock Purdy's level, everyone would be fawning all over themselves to give him $60 million. But people cannot get it out of their mind that he was picked 262. I think we can locally, but I think nationally they just can't get past 262. And taking a guy who had about $1 million salary this year and jumping it up eventually, or where it's at an AAV of nearly 60, if not more than 60. And to be honest with you, so we did high-end Joe Burrow, $68 million, which is 24.5% of 279, which is the cap. We went low-end 20.8%, which is Jared Goff, which is $58 million of the salary cap. But the average among the top 10, and this is where Brock's going to come in, or should, is 22.6% of the cap. Sorry, I know we're doing a lot of numbers, and I apologize. It's a Monday. It's early. What are you doing, Lund? You're killing me. But I'm trying to make it simple. So the average among the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, which Brock is, I don't think you can argue that. Brock is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. He's a top 10 quarterback. So the top 10 quarterback percentage of cap space is 22.6%. So if you go 22.6% of $279 million, that's $63 million on AAV. And that's what his agent's asking for. I can guarantee you that's what his agent is asking for. And he's probably asking for more. But the bottom line is, because the cap went up, do you think that the cap's going to go up the last 2 years? $50 million, $25 million from last year to this year, went up $25 million. But Brock doesn't deserve some of that? That's the way his agent is couching it and positioning it. And he's right. If the cap goes up, the number goes up for everybody. If the cap goes up, it doesn't stay flat. When guys get new contracts, they go up. So everybody's looking at the situation, like Tua Tagovailoa is at $52 million. I shouldn't have to say that this early in the morning. Tua Tagovailoa is at $52 million. Jordan Love's at 55. Trevor Lawrence is at 55, etc. But when Trevor Lawrence signed his deal, for example, he's at 21.5% of the cap. So again, even if you go 21.5%, I went 22.6. The low end at 20.8 is $58 million. So his agent is saying, look, we're not taking anything less than 58. So when Mike Garafolo says he's not going to get into the 60 range, maybe not 60, but I wouldn't doubt that he would get about 58. And if he really wanted to push it, kind of like what Garafolo said right there, if you go average 22.6% of the cap, which is the average of the top 10, That's $63 million AAV. And we're always, keep this in mind too. Every single time free agency hits and we look at a number, we get blown away by it, right? I would be surprised, honestly, if it was less than 58. If it was 55, I'd be surprised. If it was 50, I'd be shocked. Absolutely shocked. So I'm just saying that there's going to be a lot of back and forth in this whole thing. But at the end of the day, 20.8% is the lowest among the top 10 quarterbacks that a top 10 quarterback is being paid percentage-wise on the salary cap. And on that number, based on $279 million, that's $58 million. And that's the low end for Brock Purdy. And I know it sounds crazy, but you got to understand, and we get this in our head. We look at player salaries and we go, oh my God, those are insane. Well, if a team can afford to pay those numbers, what are the owners making? They're making a boatload. And I'll just use the Celtics as a perfect example. The Celtics just sold for $6.1 billion. You're looking at the Giants right now. They're going to sell 10% of their team. The San Francisco Giants are going to sell 10% of their team. And they're going to get about $500 million out of it. The Niners are looking at selling 10% of their team. They're looking at maybe getting close to $1 billion out of it, 900 million to $1 billion. So these guys have the money. I understand why the 49ers are doing a financial reset. We've talked about it a million times, and we don't need to go down that road. And I've thrown a million numbers at you already, and your eyes might be going back in your head, or they might be glazing over like, I totally understand that. I'm simply telling you that if there's a percentage and you base it simplistically on that, and I guarantee that's part of the equation here is the agent's going to go, the cap can't go up $50 million. So we're at 279. So think about somebody do the percentage on that. The cap can't go up from 220s to 279 and my guy not get a raise at the most important position in sports to that level. So that's what's going to happen. It's really, really simple. And maybe it's going to take a long time. Like Mike Garafolo just said, the one thing I would caution you against, and you can do whatever you want, you're you. And I'm not telling you how to think, live, view sports, anything like that. It's going to take a while. And so you're going to hear different things and you're going to hear rumors and you hear this and you're going to hear that. I would say this too. If it was a better quarterback draft, I think that the 49ers might consider it. That's how upset Jed York is. That's how much he wants to pull back things. But Brock, to me, is the exception to the rule. They love him. They love him because not only do they love him as a quarterback, but they love him as a guy. You know, Jed York looks at this franchise, and you got to understand that every quarterback of every franchise, whether they like it or not, they are Steph Curry. They are the CEO of their franchise. They are the face of the franchise. Can you get a better one than Brock right now? I'm not saying a better player. I'm not saying that. There are better players. I'm not homering out. There are better players. But in terms of Kyle Shanahan goes to sleep at night, John Lynch goes to sleep at night, Jed York goes to sleep at night, and they don't have to think my quarterback's going to get in trouble. I'm going to have to wake up to something. He's going to tweet something stupid. He's going to say something stupid. He's the CEO of this team, and that means a lot to an NFL franchise, that you have a good quarterback, but this good quarterback also doesn't make me lose sleep at night. Like I used to run radio stations for years and years and years and years and years. And the biggest thing was for my PM drive guy, so the guy who would do the show at 7 o'clock, right? At 7 o'clock, like the PM guy, like I'd work all day long. I had an office in my studio. I'm not saying that I outworked anybody. I'm just simply saying how it was. And you're the same way. You bust your ass every day. I'm simply saying, as I looked at it, I would start in my office probably 7 o'clock in the morning. Then I'd go into the office about 8:30, start some meetings, do all these kind of things. I'd stay till maybe 6 o'clock at night, and I'd see the nighttime guy come in. And I'd talk to him a little bit, and we'd say hi, and then he would do the show from 7 to 10, and he did all the, we carried the Mavericks game, so he'd have the Mavericks, all that kind of stuff. And the number one thing on my list, maybe number two, number one had to be, you got to be good on the air. Like, you got to be good on the air. You got to be compelling. You got to be, you got to work hard. You got all these things. But number two on my list for my 7 o'clock guy at night was, I don't want to get a phone call. I'm with my family. I don't want to listen to, I would listen sometimes to the show, but during the day, like I would listen to my daytime stuff all the time, right? I'm in my office. It's going. I'm listening to it. But at night, I'd listen sometimes, but I didn't listen all the time. And the thing is, I didn't want to get a phone call. I didn't want to get a phone call from an advertiser that he was ripping me. I didn't want to get a text from Mark Cuban saying that, what's he saying about my team? I didn't want to get a call from the Cowboys saying this guy's being a jackass and taking personal shots at my guy. I didn't want to deal with that at night. My kid was young. I wanted to, I didn't want any trouble. So one of the things was I wanted to make sure that my guy who worked at night for me wasn't a big pain in my ass. And that's part of it. I know that it's not all of it, but as you put this whole thing together, this pie together, the fact that Brock Purdy as a person means something to the organization. In fact, it means a lot to the organization that he's a good football player. He's a good dude, and they don't have to worry about it. And it's one of the reasons why Aaron Rodgers will never become a member of the 49ers. Could you imagine? Like, what is he going to say? What is he going to do? He's going to be on the McAfee show. He's going to say something stupid. He's going to say something political. He's going to say something about a vaccine. He's going to, like, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. Not only is it not going to work in the room, and so anybody who brings up Aaron Rodgers just isn't in the know with the 49ers, because none of it's going to work. Like, it's just from a football standpoint, it doesn't. From a Kyle Shanahan, when he rarely goes home on those Fridays that they cut things early and he goes home, he doesn't want to have to worry about what Aaron Rodgers is going to do or say. So he's getting a text from somebody saying, did you see what Rodgers did? Did you see what Rodgers said? It's like, not only do I hate the guy from a football perspective, now I got to worry about what he's going to say off the field. Oh, love of God. No. So anyway, there's my, let me play this. Let me play this thing. And then I want to get your opinion on it, because I played it Saturday, and I see a lot of new names in the chat today. So let me play this from, this is Mike Florio on PFT, Pro Football Talk. And this is Mike Hawley, a guy who did about, 12, 13 years at WEEI in Boston as a talk show host. And Florio, who is not dialed into the 49ers at all, is trying to kick up some dirt that Mac Jones could be a challenger to Brock Purdy.
Judge was in charge of the quarterbacks. Look, Mac Jones, I've heard enough about Mac Jones over the years, and I've seen enough from Mac Jones. He is not going to show up and bow down to Brock Purdy. He's going to go in there with the mindset of, I can win this job. I was the 15th pick in the draft in 22. This guy was the last guy taken in 23. This guy, right place at the right time, running Kyle Shanahan's offense. That's all you have to do. You listen to Kyle. You do what Kyle wants, and you're going to play well. And, Jimmy Garoppolo had limitations. Trey Lance never really worked out. Brock Purdy was the guy who kind of just slipped in the back door at a time when they were trying to figure out what the hell they were going to do with Trey Lance. I can do this. I can be that good. I can be better. That's going to be Mac Jones' attitude. He's going to go in there, regardless of whether or not it works.
Yeah.
But he's going in there not with the idea that I support Brock Purdy. No, I'm trying to beat Brock Purdy out, and I want to give the 49ers something to think about. And that's another reason for them to not show up with $60 million per year in new money average for Brock Purdy to get his deal done. Let's see what we got in Mac Jones before we do a long-term commitment with Brock Purdy.
Let me see if I can say it this way without calling anybody out in particular. But those who know will know. I remember I used to do talk radio. I did sports talk radio for 13 years in Boston. So we had a partner. It was great. And that partner moved on. I had to break in another partner. And there are certain people who, when they're not on the air and you talk to them, you really like them. They really make a lot of sense. But then when the red light comes on, you think, oh my God, this is awful. I like this person, but I don't like being on the air with this person. And so I think that's what Kyle Shanahan is going to find with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, if you talk football with Mac Jones, you love it. He understands, even before he was drafted. I don't know if you remember this, Mike, when that speculation that you mentioned earlier about, hey, Kyle Shanahan, they have the third pick in the draft. Will they draft Mac Jones? And Mac Jones is asked about it, and he gives this great, eloquent breakdown of the San Francisco offense. This is before he was even drafted. It was very impressive. So he is an impressive football mind when he's talking, but when he plays, it's not pretty. He just does things that are just head-scratching, and he will drive Kyle Shanahan crazy. He will make him crazy. So he's not going to beat out Brock Purdy. If he does beat out Brock Purdy, it's going to be for a game or two, and then Purdy will go right back in there and take the job back because he's just not capable of – I don't think he's –
He's just been really nice. Let's just get to the chase. Mac Jones sucks. He had a great rookie season. And then he just fell out of favor with Belichick. Maybe he lost his confidence. Could he be a Sam Darnold reclamation project at best? I don't see the physical skills that Sam Darnold had in Mac Jones. went back and watched some Mac Jones after he signed. He had 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions for Alabama in his only year of starting. And if you could give any advice, and this is one thing, and I've said this again and again and again, that the NFL just doesn't do well. They don't develop quarterbacks. So if I'm a head coach at the college level and, kids come to you and say, what do you think I should do? Get as many starts as you can. You saw Bo Nix last year. I don't think Bo Nix is great. He's a above average athlete, above average arm, pretty smart guy, but he started 61 games between Auburn and Oregon. He's seen a lot of things, and he was able to get into a Sean Payton offense. They had decent, not great weapons, and he comes in and he plays really, really well. Same thing. Who was the rookie of the year last year? And everybody's fawning all over Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels played at Arizona State, played at LSU, played in a couple of different systems, played forever in college, had a lot of good players around him. There's no question. Comes in, plays really well, and people are scratching their head going, how did that happen? Started a lot of games. So Mac Jones started one season in Alabama. Easily lost his confidence under Bill Belichick. You could see how that could possibly happen. Played in a backup role to Trevor Lawrence last year. Doug Peterson is an offensive mind. Didn't play well in Jacksonville. And as Michael Hawley said right there, if you go back and watch Mac Jones plays in the NFL after his rookie season, he does some of the dumbest things you've ever seen in your life. So he's not leverage against Brock Purdy. The 49ers are not sitting there going, let's just sign Mac Jones. I knew they were going to sign somebody, and I told you that. When everybody else was throwing out Justin Fields' name, which the Jets are going to find out about him, and Zach Wilson's name, which I don't think he's any good, and I don't think he ever will be. I think it's possible that Mac Jones lost his confidence under Bill Belichick. I can completely see that. And he's got to try to gain it back. And I hate this whole thing of a quarterback-friendly system. This is not a quarterback-friendly system. There are no such things. It's the NFL. There's a 300-pound man trying to crush your face in and end your career. You have 2.1 seconds to make a decision to 4 to 5 different receivers, and you better be on the same page, and you better hope, and then you make those throws. It's the most difficult position in sports, easily. Hitting a baseball is not easy. There's a number of other positions, but having a 300-pound man, actually many of them, trying to end your life, your career, or both, and then you've got to be on the same page with 4 or 5 different receivers and make a decision in 2.1 seconds. And, oh, by the way, make a precision throw, or else everybody's going to say what a bum you are. It's a pretty difficult position to play. And you can lose your confidence very easily. I'm simply saying that in those 2 clips, what's funny is Michael Hawley is in the nicest possible way trying to say, Mike Florio, you're so full of it. And then Florio, through that whole time, is sitting there saying, I could see Mac Jones thinking this. Dude, that's what you're thinking, because you're the guy who's stuck on 262. Florio is so stuck on 262. Like, you can't give 262 $60 million. 262. Mac Jones was the first-round pick. That doesn't matter. Once you go on the stage and you hug the commissioner, he hugs you, or you have your arm around him, and once the bank account hits, and man, I was a first-round pick, this is the money I get. When you get to camp and you get to OTAs, does not matter. Doesn't matter. Now, the only place it does matter is they'll give you more chances. So New England here's the other thing too. Mac Jones was given lots of chances by the Patriots because he was a first-round pick. If you're picked 262 and somehow Mike Florio equated that to going into the back door, he just kind of slipped in the back door. Yeah, like he did nothing. His first start, he beat Tom Brady. His second start, he had broken ribs in Seattle and won there, one of the most difficult places it used to be, to win in the NFL. On and on and on and on and on. I don't know what the guy has to do to prove it, and I'm not saying he's a top 3 quarterback, but he's a top 10 quarterback. And a top 10 quarterback, as I just told you from a percentage standpoint, gets what he gets. And that's what Brock Purdy is going to get. And the indicators of, and I heard the same things, and this started when kind of brought us onto this, and we were going to go here anyway, when Steve said there was more rumors over the weekend. First of all, they're unfounded rumors. Second of all, there were opportunities for the 49ers to use leverage against Brock Purdy. They did not. And this is going to take a long time. Like, from a national perspective, it's almost like this has never happened before. And look, it's a negotiation. Brock doesn't hate the Niners. The Niners don't hate Brock. It's basically Parag Marathe given parameters of what they'll do with Jed York, and they want him back, and Kyle Shanahan wants him back, and they're going to get him back because there's nothing. It's not like the Brandon Ayuk situation. You trade Brandon Ayuk a year ago to the Steelers. If Kyle Shanahan doesn't sprint up those stairs and say, no, we can't trade Ayuk, they would have been fine. Well, they were hurt. They wouldn't have been fine. He was hurt, and they weren't fine. But this year they would have been fine. Now, if they trade Brock Purdy this offseason, which they won't, but if they did, let's say somebody just said, look, we will give you those first-round picks. We'll give you 2 first-round picks for Brock Purdy. We need a quarterback. They'd be in the quarterback market, and they're not going to go get Aaron Rodgers, so then what? Where are they from a standpoint? You lose a wide receiver. This is my whole thing with IU getting the $30 million. There's a bunch coming in this year. There's a bunch coming in next year. There's veterans you can pick up on the free agent market, as we saw in this. Devontae Adams was out there, Cooper Kupp. Like, if you don't give the money to Brandon Ayuk on the long-term level, this offseason, you would have went through what you would have went through. And then, I don't know, you pick up Cooper Kupp, you pick up Devontae Adams, you pick up, like, they would have been aggressive in going after a receiver. There's receivers out there constantly. This offseason, DK Metcalf was out there. Tyler Lockett's out there. Cooper Kupp is out there. Devontae Adams is there was receiver after receiver after receiver after receiver. For some reason, I don't know if everybody was on crack smoking the same thing. I don't know exactly what it was, but in 2024, it was like, oh my God, we gotta have these guys. Why? Like, there's a bunch of them coming in. It's not like a quarterback. Quarterback, they got all the leverage, man. That's why it makes me laugh when I hear people say he's not going to get this, he's not going to get that. Where's the Niners' leverage? They don't have any. When Brock Purdy is sitting back, or his agent is sitting back, Brock's just in Arizona hanging out. His agent's sitting back going, look, these are the numbers. They'll negotiate back and forth. But we see this time and time again, every offseason. Oh my God, can you believe what this guy got? In every sport. We do that every single offseason. For the love of God, you see what Juan Soto got? For the love of God, you see what, over and over and over and over again. It's just what it is. So it's going to happen. Oh, yeah, this is great. The Giants were I just saw this, as a matter of fact. You know what's so funny that you put that up there? Maybe I can find this again. I don't know if I can. Yeah, there you go. The Cactus League champions. I don't know what you get for that. Let me hold on a minute. Let me pop yours off so I can. Yeah. I don't know what you get for being the Cactus League champions. You see that? Cactus League champions. That's so funny that you say that. I just literally, and I just broke my iPad. I just popped that up there and I was like, it came across. The Blue Jays were the Grapefruit League champions and the Giants were the Cactus League champions. So let's see what that brings us during the season. I'm not going to be negative on the Giants. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. In fact, it is a perfect time to get to Kyle Harrison, but I'm not going to be negative when it comes to the Giants. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Let's see. What do we got? Oh, what's going on, Antonio? Good to see you, my friend. Very, very nice. Pick 10. Way to go, man. Oh, you know what? Let me do this. Before, you know what? I'm going to do baseball first. Stick a pin in that because nobody cares about my bracket, but I just have something funny to talk about in regards to it, okay? I'm not going to talk about it. And I'm going to be cool about the Giants, man. Friday, like I said, we're going to start that show on Friday, whatever it's going to be called, and we're not going to be negative. We're just not. We're just decided we're not going to do it. We're being positive. Somehow there's a Jets thing going on in the text line. What else do we have, man? I would agree with that. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's so ridiculous when you try to compare sports to anything. It's unbelievable. Anyway, let's see. I guess that's good. Lots of Aaron Rodgers talk. All right, let me get to a baseball thing, and this is going to be interesting to see what comes of this. Maybe, as Alex Pavlovich writes, as we talk about the Cactus League champion San Francisco Giants. There is Kyle Harrison, Alex Pavlovich, the Giants option Kyle Harrison and Keaton Wynn to AAA. It's Landon Rooper, Hayden Birdsong. It should be both, and then Hicks should be in the bullpen, but I digress. For the final rotation spot, Harrison was behind all spring after losing 13 pounds from a virus right before the start of camp. So here's the thing, and you know this. We talked about Kyle Harrison forever, De La Salle, local kid, best prospect as a left-hander in baseball. Awesome. Had the guy on a number of times. He's an incredibly mature guy, smart guy, knows pitching. But I was always nervous, and I'm not burying this guy at all. But I was always nervous with only 2 pitches. Teams will get used to him. It's not like he's humping it up there 99 miles an hour. Maybe the virus we were talking about early in camp. We've talked about this before where he's 91, 92. And we're like, oh, no, what's going on here? So that was definitely a part of it. Near the end of spring, he was more 94, 95, which is nice. But still, 94, 95, what it used to be and what it is, and we all know this, fall baseball, 94, 95 is an average fastball. That's what it is. So it's not like you're throwing, 10 years ago, 95, you're zipping it up there pretty good. I'm not saying 95 is bad. It's not. But you better have some other stuff if you're throwing 95 to set it up. And Kyle Harrison has 2 pitches. So I don't know how the Giants are looking at him. In fact, I need to get somebody on now that the spring training champs are back home soon. And we'll talk about spring training and we'll get into all those kind of things. But I don't know what the future is for Kyle Harrison. Because as I look at it right now, and it's kind of like the Brock Purdy situation a little bit, is if you stay stagnant, people are going to pass you by. And Kyle Harrison, to me, hasn't improved. And so you look at Hayden Birdsong. If Hayden Birdsong's not in the rotation, then somebody's doing it wrong with the Giants. Hayden Birdsong is not because he's throwing 98. It's just he's nasty. And Landon Roop is a guy who's been a long guy before. So if I was a betting man, and I'm terrible at betting, I would say that Birdsong is the 4, or I guess the 5, and Hicks is the 4. I'd rather have Roop, but whatever. I keep saying that, and you're like, dude, we've heard it. So my daily Hicks right there, this is it. Like, yeah, okay, you know how I feel about it. He should be the 7th inning guy, but whatever. It's going to come out in the wash. But Birdsong should, to me, be the 5th starter if they're going to have Hicks in that rotation. And I don't know what to do with Kyle Harrison. He's going to go to AAA. He's going to build up his strength. He had the virus early. He lost 13 pounds. I'd like to be on that diet. But I don't know what his future is, because Hayden Birdsong, to me, has passed him by. I don't know if the eyes of the Giants, or if it's just, hey, he has a virus, he's going to be back. When he's back, he'll be back in the majors. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to groom him now as a reliever, as a long guy. He could be a short. I think he could be a really nasty short guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Where a guy just kind of evolves into a different kind of a role. Maybe he's the 7th inning guy. I don't know. The guy that I want Hicks to be, maybe that's Kyle Harrison long term. I don't know. But he's got 2 pitches as a starter, and I just don't think that's enough. And I've said that from the minute he got here, and I really like the kid, and I really like the guy, and I like his maturity. He knows how to pitch, all those kind of things. But I'm going, okay, Birdsong is clearly better. I don't know if Roop is better, but just like last year, had a great spring. So will that translate into the regular season? As we always talk about, guess what? You're playing a video game. You're 99% done. You're about ready to get to the final thing. You've boarded the ship or whatever it is. Lights go out or whatever. I've written stories before. I'm sure you have too. About ready to send it. Power goes out. Like, oh, I got to start over. Oh, but that's what's going on. So all those great spring numbers and who did what and all these different things. Encarnacion gets hurt. So what is that going to mean for, Ramos or anybody like that, or for Matos, I should say, not Ramos, Matos or any of these different guys? I don't know. But all those great things that they did in the spring and got everybody excited about, it's over. And so you got to start it now, and you're not in Arizona, you're here, and so everything resets. But if spring training means anything in terms of jobs, and to be honest with you, knowing what I know and having covered these things, a team goes into spring training pretty much knowing what it's going to be. And unless somebody at a certain position falls on their face and then another guy is really great, that's the only way that things get changed. Normally speaking, if a guy hits 159 and it's going to take more than that, maybe an injury. And in this case, this is what it is Kyle Harrison had a situation. Birdsong pitched really well, Roop pitched really well, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, sorry, Trey Lance, they passed you up. And I'm not trying to say, and that probably is a very bad comparison of Trey Lance. Kyle Harrison is not Trey Lance. What I'm saying is that if you stay the same or get worse, you're going to get passed up. And right now, as you look at the pecking order, the last 2 spots in that rotation, those 2 guys are better. Now, whether he goes down to Sacramento and pitches really well and then comes back, I don't know what the role is going to be. It's going to be based on, is Birdsong going to pitch well? Is Roop going to pitch well? What are they going to do? I think it's going to be Birdsong as the 5, Roop in the long roll because he's done it before, and they'll keep their eye on Kyle Harrison. I'm not down on Kyle Harrison. I don't think that he's done as a prospect or anything like that. I don't know that they should trade him. I don't know. Who are you going to get? Give me a stick. Give me a first baseman. You got a first baseman that can, and somebody who thinks that Kyle Harrison is going to be something. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I'm not saying that he's not a good prospect still. It's just that's something to watch. Because you're sitting there and Harrison, you think, he's in the majors all last year. You think, okay, Kyle Harrison's here to stay. It's that quick. So that's the latest on that. Let's see. Daily Hicks, I already did. Harrison sent out. Oh, the Screaming A disclaimer. That's what I wanted to do. I almost got sideways on this and started this a little bit early. But let me just pop this up. And look, nobody cares about my bracket. I get it. This is going to take a very short period of time. So I'm not great. I mean, I hit 77% from a guy who doesn't watch hardly any college basketball until the end of the season, until like late February, early March. So I watched the tournaments a little bit. So I'm at 77%, which is what, 5 millionth or something like that. So somebody's really, really good. So I've hit 77% of my picks so far, which is like middle of my, I'm not going to win any money for my friends, like I talk about all the time. But this is why I bring this up. Okay, 77%, 5 millionth is what I am. Screamin' A is at 17.2 million. He's hit 28% of his picks. Like, my dog could do better. Like 28% of your picks. And then our good friend Joe Fortenbaugh, who he's a gambling guy, and I love Joe, but he's a gambling guy big time. Like, you're going to put your money where your mouth is and you listen to Joe Fortenbaugh and Joe's at 28% of his picks. So that's not good. But let me just concentrate on Screaming A for a minute. There really should be a disclaimer because Stephen A. Smith knows basketball. I've told you this many, many times. But when I was early in my career and I did pre-half and post for the Portland Trail Blazers radio network, I was probably, I was young, in my mid-20s. And what I had to do was, it's not like today, it was a radio thing. So I would go into a thing where you could record phone interviews, right? I would write my whole show. I would record some things. I'd go down to shoot around. I'd do a couple of interviews with players, coaches. If it was the other team and it was really, it was like Shaq or Kobe or something, I'd go down and do 2 or 3 minutes with them. And then I'd put all that together and we had a 90-minute pregame show on the radio and different type of things we had to do. But one of the things we had to do was something, and this hasn't changed. I think we called it, just like everybody, like behind enemy lines or something. And I had to get like a 5-minute interview with somebody who covered the other team. And so when it was Philadelphia, I'd always call Stephen A. Smith. He was just a really nice guy. This is probably early 2000s and really early 2000s, like maybe 2002 or something like that. So, and he would always pick up. He was always really cool. They had this thing, NBA Blue Book, and it had everybody's phone number in it. And under the 76ers, he worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he was my go-to guy. Like I'd always call Stephen A. and you could just say, hey, Stephen A., John Lund from the Blazers radio network, just hoping I could get maybe 3 or 4 minutes from you to do the opposing viewpoint. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And we would do it and everything was no big deal. And he knows basketball. There's no doubt. But ESPN has spread him so thin to so many different things. Like when he does boxing, it's brutal. When he does the NFL, it's brutal. He's doing politics now. I don't want to go down that road. He could get elected. I know he could. But there should be a disclaimer in everything that he says that's not NBA related. And even then, because he's evolved from where he was when I used to do interviews with him to just bombastic and all those kind of things. And I get it, man. I'm not anti-Screaming A. I say this all the time. He makes a ton of money. He gets it. He has perfected whatever it is that he does, and people watch. Some people do. I don't. Doesn't mean that he's not good at what he does. He's become very good at what he does, and he makes a ton of money. I think, what did he sign, a 5 and 100? But there should be a disclaimer before his show that, look, this is for entertainment purposes only. Just like Barkley. I played that for you on Saturday. Do I still have that in my thing? I think I took it out. But where Barkley they came back from the we're doing a halftime report during March Madness, and Ernie Johnson right out of the gate throws it to Charles and said, "What did you think of the first half, Charles?" And Charles, and he's like, "Look, I was watching something else," which clearly means he was betting on another game. And so he just was like, "I got no idea." He goes, "Throw it to Clark or Kinney on this one." Like he just flat out said, "Man, I wasn't watching that game." It's unbelievable. But there should be just a disclaimer, like, because Shaq and Charles, as entertaining as they are, and I love that show. But they just say they're bored by the league. Like they're bored by the league. Was it last week when Shaq was saying how great Detroit had turned things around and he was giving all this praise to Chauncey Billups? Chauncey played for the Pistons. I was there when they won a championship, but he's the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. And he was giving praise to Chauncey Billups for the turnaround of the Detroit Pistons, and the rest of the guys on the panel were like, "What in the what?" And then afterwards he goes, "Yeah, I really don't watch the NBA all that much." And that's cool, man. It's fine. You're entertaining. You're basically telling us a bunch of old stories. You pay attention to maybe the top 5 teams in the league, because that's when he goes to ESPN, that'll be perfect because that's all those guys do. But it's like there should be a disclaimer that's like, look, I don't know anything. I really don't pay attention to this. I'm just I just yell and scream louder than anybody else. I say it with authority, and so people actually believe me, but I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I mean, 27%. Come on. You could just close your eyes and throw darts and get 27%, couldn't you? I mean, I don't watch hardly any college basketball. Like I said, like the last, 2 weeks of the season, I just watch. 77% is not great. I'm 5 millionth. Dude, you're hitting 28% of the picks. I mean, seriously, you don't have to put in any effort. Like, did he just close his eyes? Stephen A., you got to have that bracket in, man. He's like, this one concerns me more, though. Joe's giving out betting advice. He's hitting 28% of his picks so far. Oof, that's rough, man. That's rough. You're a betting guy and you're hitting 28%. People are like, bro, you're losing me my house. And I love how they put those disclaimers. If you have a gambling problem, you don't know you have a gambling problem until you lose your house, your car, your kids. If you're listening to Joe Fortenbaugh, you're 28%? Dude. Yeah, don't tell me about betting. What do we got? Unbelievable. What else do we got? Yeah, I am juiced up today. Thank you for sending me on the Brock tangent today, because I knew I was going to do it. I just didn't know when I was going to do it. Yeah, Duke is the favorite now, and I have Duke. I'm sorry that I took Duke. I don't like Duke. But like I said, the only two, like BYU's in the Sweet 16. I was like BYU out in the first round, and I did that because, like I said, I went to Utah State. I was not a BYU fan, and so the only time I bet with my heart were two losses: Utah State against UCLA, and UCLA blew the doors off them. And then BYU, and they're in the Sweet 16, and I knew they were good. I just don't want to pick them. No, I love Fortenbaugh, man. Rockin' New Era. I love Fortenbaugh. He's a great guy, and I'm not ripping him at all. But man, you're giving out betting advice. They can't pop that on the screen, like on his show. They can't pop, like on his radio show. They can't pop that on the screen. He's a betting guy. Like he's paid to be like, hey, here's what I think, and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's one thing for Screaming A to get 27%. It's another thing for the guy giving you betting advice to do that. I mean, that's not even with the spread. That's just straight up. That's much easier. Like you're 27% or 28%, 27.9. You're 28% on the just straight up. Ooh, that's rough, man. That's rough. What else do we have today? Screaming A disclaimer, random. We started random, actually. Because if you weren't at the beginning of the show, for some reason, how did we get on to drinks? We got into breakfast drinks or something. We were talking Bloody Marys, went into Harvey Wallbanger. Galliano, by the way. Galliano vodka orange juice. Thank me later. It's like a vanilla Italian liqueur. Amazing. Great looking bottle. The bartender will be like, damn. Whoa, you're going to Harvey Wallbanger in the morning? Like those, it tastes really good. You'll get addicted to them. They're good. Nice little spin off of the screwdriver there. All right. I think that'll do us for today. I think we have hit everything that we need to hit. Let me double check on the chat line to make sure that we are really, really good. And we're great. By the way, want to make sure that we mention this again. Our good friends sponsoring the show, 𝐬𝐝𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. My wife last week went in there, 𝐬𝐝𝐿, there you go right there. Get an appointment. Click on that QR code right now. My wife went in there last week to do her foot. Remember, she had the shoulder done. She had the elbow done. And now she did stem cell last week on her foot. It takes about a month for her to feel it, but her elbow is much better. Shoulder is much better. It's awesome. She's feeling great. Stem cell for your pain. It's a game changer. Click on that right now. Go to the website, make an appointment, and go see Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 and see what he can do. And I told you about this last week with Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿. Remember, he was one of the first in California to do stem cell, and he did it with Bartolo Colon. And no, not the year that Bartolo Colon got popped. He helped extend Bartolo Colon's career. He's got a sports medicine side, does Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿. He was one of the first in California to do stem cell for pain. He did it with Bartolo Colon. I'm going to have him on the show and tell him, he'll tell the story much better than I can. But if you click on that code right there, you got pain going on, Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 can help you. They're in San Ramon. So if you're in the East Bay, it's real easy. If you're not, you're like, oh, should I make that drive? Absolutely, positively. He's great. We've been doing all sorts of things with him for years. Absolutely trustworthy. We asked him, hey, man, we really want you on the show. He is great. So stem cell is something my wife is doing. Like I said, Bartolo Colon extended his career with it. If you've got pain and you don't know what to do, this is the way to go with Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿. And then I'm doing the testosterone replacement therapy. And no, this is not Balco. This is not Barry Bonds. This is professional. This is a doctor, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Go in, real easy blood test. Then it's a quick procedure. And if you've heard about testosterone replacement before, you're tired, you're irritable, can't lose weight, all those different things, you're tired, you're lethargic. You've heard this before. Maybe it's a weekly shot or something like that. It's not. You go in there. It's a procedure. Like I said, quick blood test. Blood comes back. Okay, this is what we need to do. This is how much we need to use. And then you can get back to being your regular self with testosterone replacement. And it's not weekly shots, nothing like that. He does one quick procedure and you're good for a few months. It's absolutely great. And it's less expensive than you think. Talk to Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 about it. Get that appointment when it comes to testosterone replacement. You will thank me later. Click on that QR code right there for Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿, and you can make yourself an appointment. And again, right there, 𝐬𝐝𝐿 Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. They do all sorts of different procedures. So check it out online right now. And I know Dr. 𝐬𝐝𝐿 can help you. So there you go on that. Speaking of QR codes, right there on the screen, you got a John Lund Unleashed QR code. You got one for Bay Area Sports Collective. You can click on those, and you can subscribe to the shows right now. Bay Area Sports Collective is my show, John Lund Unleashed, plus the Tom Tolbert Show, and our good friends, Paulie Mack, of course, from the Murph and Mack Morning Show for years and years and years. Paulie Mack and Creative Tony. You want to check out that show as well. Plus, they're going to be out Thursday for opening day, and I'll join those guys. So make sure that you click on Bay Area Sports Collective. Also on John Lund Unleashed. Please make sure you subscribe. Have those alerts on because I do all sorts of videos throughout the day. And, of course, hit the like button on the show because that helps the algorithm, brings people back, which is great. Thanks today for watching on Instagram. I have not checked in on my Instagram people for a while. Very good to see. Oh, there's somebody. There's a big fan. I'm a big fan of that person, and I need to have him on my show. As I just looked in the, yes, I just looked into Instagram. Yeah, I'm gonna text that person right now. As a matter of fact, no, man. We went through it. Episode 96. Dre speaks on the loss, a Dubs update, the Curry dilemma, Wiggs 42. I told you about that. Miami and Jimmy on Tuesday. They will be motivated. Delly gives back the MVP. Never seen it. Purdy percentage. Impress your friends with that. Harrison sent out. Is that going to be an injury? Is that going to be permanent? The Daily Hicks, you're sick of me saying that. Screaming A disclaimer and random throughout the show, especially on drinking to start the show. So a solid Monday effort, I do think. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Let me make sure that we are not missing anyone. If there's any supers or anything like that, we got to hit up. Very, very cool. All right, good. Thanks. No, thanks to you guys, man. It's not thanks to me. Let's see. What else do we have? Somebody says, what time is Tolbert? Hang on a second. Let me make sure. Oh, Cactus League champion, San Francisco Giants. Let me, I'll look it up for you so that you know what time Tommy is today. No. Where is it? There it is. I don't see anything. He will be on today at some point, and so will Polly Mac, but he doesn't have it loaded up yet on his page. By the way, it's the Tom Tolbert Show or Bay Area Sports Collective. All right, that'll do us for a Monday edition of the show. Thank you for everybody for hanging out. Yeah, I will be out on Thursday. I will be on with Larry Krueger tonight. Krug and I will chop it up on the Krug Show. Plus, we're going to talk about Friday night and what we're going to name that show. We're going to determine that Friday night show tonight. So make sure you tune into the Krug Show. I'm not sure what time, so keep your alerts on because I will post what time Krug and I are going to be on so that you can jump in and hang out with us. So you're not done with me for the day. Have an amazing Monday. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. JohnLundUnleashed.com. If you're missing me, make sure to check that out as well. And we'll see you tonight with the Krug Show at 7 o'clock. Have a great Monday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at JohnLundUnleashed.com. JohnLundUnleashed.com.
Goodbye!